Okay, so first of all, I wanted to know a little bit about your background, like what you were like growing up. And of course, I think the most important part of that is what were you like as a student?
My goodness. Growing up, I'm the second born out of 4 kids in my family. Older brother, younger brother, and a younger sister. And I lived in Greene, which is right outside of Lewiston, and it's a very kind of country setting. So we did a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of playing outside. After school, we'd be outside pretty much the whole time until it was dark, time to have dinner. And we had a really fun kind of family and just a lot together, and that was my childhood. As a student, I was extremely shy and quiet. I hardly ever raised my hand, and I always wanted to make sure that I followed the rules, and anytime I was caught doing something wrong or someone assumed I was devastated. And I went to St. Joe's School from kindergarten through 8th grade in Lewiston. So my family sent us to parochial school because both my parents had been in parochial school, so they wanted us to have the same kind of Catholic school program. And for high school, I was at St. Dom's in Lewiston. And all through school, I was pretty much very quiet, reserved, followed the rules. And I didn't really apply myself too much when it came to my studies or academics. I did okay, and I was able to pass, but I really didn't put much effort into it. I never really saw the importance of schooling. And then when I went to college and realized that I wanted to be a teacher, I kind of shifted my mentality, and I started to work a little harder and realized that I had to give it more than what I had before. So I did really well in college, and I had a successful college career, and then kind of opened up and became more of the personality that I share now with most people. So that was my school time. I think that's it. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Yep.
It's working all right.
Okay, so it's interesting that you mentioned that you really weren't the best student, because I sort of wonder what was that defining moment that you decided you wanted to teach?
When I was 10, my parents had my sister. So I was old enough to help and to care for her and play with her, and I really enjoyed that time I had with her. Before that, I guess I'd always liked being around children, but I never really saw myself as kind of being steered that direction for a career. And in school, there was we had a Christmas fair. I remember it was 8th grade, and as 8th graders, we had to pick a job. And the 2 jobs that were available to my class was that boys and girls could be gift wrappers and work in a station wrapping the gifts that people bought at the craft fair, or they could help out in the nursery, the daycare kind of place where parents could drop off their kids for a few hours. And I cannot stand wrapping gifts. I cannot do it. I have no talent at wrapping. So immediately I said, I don't want to do that. I want to work in the daycare. So I did my volunteer time that day in the daycare, and I loved it. And I had a really fun time. And I pretty much knew after being close to my sister and then having that one experience with working with these little kids in kind of a more school-like setting that I really enjoyed myself. When I was in high school, we had a volunteer expectation for the community service. And so I signed up to volunteer at a Head Start, which was right across the street in Lewiston, with my cousin, who was the head teacher there. And it was just an unbelievable experience to see these kids coming from very poor families and what their needs were and how these adults behaved and treated them and respected them and included them and how they taught them. And so I was really inspired by my cousin and what she was doing at Head Start, and then I pretty much knew at that point that I wanted to teach.
What's your biggest motivation as a teacher?
Sean,
Do you mean now, or when I was
system, could you buzz the
becoming a
office
teacher?
at 2001, please? Sean,
Well,
your phone is not working in our building.
I
We can't
guess,
call you. Could you buzz the office at 2001, please? Thank you.
I guess
Mrs. Albertini, please buzz the office
mostly
at
now.
2001. Mrs. Albertini,
Because-
thank you.
wait. My goodness. Okay. Now? Okay, so my motivation now? I guess what motivates me to continue, I guess, teaching at this grade level.
Good afternoon. Could we?
I guess every day is a new day in a classroom. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what the kids will come in needing, and it never gets boring. I mean, every day it's exciting. Every day there are challenges. Every day I find myself learning something new. And every school year is the same way. It's never the same group of kids. Every kid is unique, and I find it motivating to get to know everyone as I do, and to see how I can inspire them and motivate them to learn and have school be a happy, kind of fun place where they can be safe and be independent. So for me, it's just every day having a new challenge and learning something new is really what keeps me motivated.
What role has all the new technology with the new school had in how you've changed or adapted your teaching practices?
It's been varied. In some ways, a little bit more transformational than others. And I'm fortunate to have multiple different devices that I can use in here. So I'll kind of talk through a little bit of what those have allowed me to do. With the smartboard, I'm really able to pace lessons, especially math lessons, where I can prepare them on my computer at home, have all of the parts that I need to on these different slides, and then I can work through the lesson piece by piece and make sure I don't miss anything, make sure that it includes all the components, and also that it gets the kids a little bit more excited because they get to come up and use the magic pens and manipulate the screen, so they feel like they're more on task, more attentive. And so I use it mostly for math, the smartboard, and I found that to be a good place for instruction. I don't use that tool so much for independent practice or maybe independent learning, but it's more of an instructional tool where I use it to help set my pace, and so I can cover what I need to. I also have the document camera, things like that I can use to highlight student work, show it up on the screen so that it minimizes the transitions. Whereas before, all of the kids that are at their desk may have been asked to come sit in a small circle to see someone's writing or to see a game being played. I can now do it on the smartboard with the document camera, so they can all just stay at their spots, so it makes the day a little bit smoother. The iPads that we've had, I've been really trying my best to think, how can I transform what I'm teaching, not just how to enhance what I'm doing, but change it. So I've found myself thinking about the day and how can I put them into the kids' hands and have them use them. So during math, I've revamped my math structure, so I have these stations that happen, and one station each day is for iPad use. And at that place they go to, I have something set for them to work on that usually fits with that day's lesson, or it also connects to prior knowledge or prior learning. So they're constantly practicing or seeing a lesson over again. Some of the apps actually teach a skill, which is important because the kids will see something in math, per se, and they may not see that same lesson for another month or two. So to have them still learn that method is a great strategy. The iPad also has other apps or pieces of it that can lead into projects. One is called Toontastic, which is a cartoon comic strip making app where kids create these different scenes. And so when my group did biographies this year, they each learned about a person, they read books about that person, and then they created a cartoon comic strip that highlights 4 major events in the life of that person. And today, actually, you saw a couple kids that were coming in and out with iPads. They were putting the finishing touches on their project because they're going to be sharing it Friday of this week. So that for me allowed the kids to learn another part of the iPad. It also provided them with problem solving because they had to not only learn this app, they also were partnered up with somebody, and they had to work together to help each other. So that it ended up being that the kids that were making their projects were kind of the director, and they would be quick to explain to their friend what they wanted the scene to look like, how to move the different parts, and how to follow the directions. So they kind of were put in these leadership roles that I didn't anticipate happening. I use my iPads and my iPod also to have kids read to the device so that I can then put onto our classroom website. In second grade, a lot of kids are reluctant to read, so if I can get them reading to adults or to a device and get them excited about it, it's going to help their reading. So I call them my wiki readers for my wiki site, and they rehearse a book several times. They have to read the book to an adult to make sure they're ready, and they record it on the device, and then I can upload it to the wiki so that other parents can hear it and share that. I also have Skyping happening where, like today, there was someone Skyping a grandfather from Kentucky, and he Skypes us once a week. I have multiple people Skyping throughout the week. Sometimes it's a dad or mom that can't come in to volunteer, but that want to be part of the day. So we Skype them, and the kids just go over and read a book over Skype, and then they get the next kid to go out and read a book. And it's just, again, it's all about reading books and getting kids to do that. So like today, you saw Pop-Up, Grandpa Vance, was out there Skyping, and I had a list of kids to read to him. And so Rebecca read a book, and then she came in and got the next person, they read a book, and so that kind of rotates. And so Skyping happens about 4 or 5 times a week, and so that we can kind of reach out to other people. One woman's from Brazil, she's Skyping us Aunt Susan. We have moms and dads at work that are Skyping, and then Grandpa Vance. I think that pretty much covers that. I mean, I really try my best to think about how it can be used to open the classroom walls up, and also just get the kids thinking in different ways. So.
What are your thoughts on the scarcity of male teachers at the grade school level?
You know, I haven't given it much thought. I remember that when I was interviewed as one part of the Teacher of the Year interviews I had, one of the visiting members of the scoring committee asked me that. They said, why do you think that there aren't many male teachers in the primary grades? And I really haven't given much thought. I mean, I've always been in a school where I wasn't the only man. We have several men in this K-5 building. And when I was in college, I was the only man to graduate with my class with a general education degree. And I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure if it's still a stereotype that exists or if people don't think of that direction. For me, it just made sense, and it was what I wanted to do, so I never gave it any thought. People have said to me many times how much they appreciate having a male teacher in these levels, but it's hard for me to see outside of what I do to see how important it might be to certain kids. Sometimes certain kids might be placed with me because of that fact, and I just try my best to meet their needs. But I'm not really sure why it is that more men don't go that direction. A lot of people are in high school or middle school. I'm certainly hoping that if they see that it's a great career and that men can do it, then they'll be more apt to do it. But I'm not really sure what the reason is. Keep my finger on it.
What did you enjoy most about the Teacher of the Year experience?
Oh my goodness. That's a tough one. There were so many elements that they still continue. But the part that I think that I will always remember was not so much the amazing journeys and experiences that I had, like the White House visit and the trip to space camp. It was the people that were there with me. I didn't realize going into this that I would make such close relationships with teachers from around the country that were also part of this experience. And so all the trips that I took, I was able to reconnect with the same people that come up from across the country for every trip. And I got to know so many of them really well. I mean, it's almost as if I could go to any state in the country and have someone's couch to sleep on and visit with people. And every time now I think of a state, I think of these people. And we're constantly connected through Facebook and online, and a lot of us are getting back together this summer for different trips and things that are happening. And so it was every time we met and did these amazing things, it felt even more special because I was sharing it with this group that no one else could really understand as well as we could with each other because of what it meant to all of us. So it was definitely those connections that will continue.
How has that experience of Teacher of the Year changed your perspective, if at all?
It certainly has, mostly again because of the people that I've met and meeting these amazing teachers that are doing incredible things in their classrooms where I felt certainly deserved the honor. And so when I came back to my classroom, it caused me really to reflect on what I'm doing. I think I'm a much more deliberate teacher. I think I'm much more vocal about education. I've been able to speak to many different groups about teaching and what it means to be a teacher. I've also started some different initiatives that I would never have thought of before, One of them is trying to get more policymakers to visit classrooms, because people that are creating policy don't really have an understanding of what's happening. So I've created a week where the people are being invited to come into classrooms to see what's happening. And also I've been speaking to students that are in college that want to be teachers, and I've been able to visit them and talk about how to engage parents and bring up topics to them that they may not have considered before, and answer questions. And I've been trying to get to all of the colleges in the state that offer education program, and it's been a phenomenal success. And we're creating a speakers bureau now as part of the Maine Teacher of the Year Association. So those things and improving my leadership skills have really benefited my teaching. But really overall, it's taking all those little pieces that I've learned from other teachers and applying it to what I can do with my kids.
I find this hard to believe, but I think we covered everything.
All right. Good.
I was curious, what were those Grover folders?
Uh-huh.
Because they looked like packaging.
Mm-hmm. I create like some kind of envelope or folder where kids can bring stuff home and then bring things from home to me. So they have some place to put their stuff, like homework, notes, or whatever. This year, when I was preparing for school to start, I went to Ruth's Reusables in Portland. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's a place where companies can donate office supplies they no longer need, and then teachers and community members can go in and take it for free. So I was in there looking for stuff, and I knew that I needed Grover folders, and I discovered that they had a whole stack of those priority mail envelopes that are super, super sturdy, and you can like basically shove them in your backpack and never rip it. So I got a ton of those, and I laminated them, and I put my little sticker on them that says what they're for, and that's their Grover folders. So if it's for their mail, which is very fitting because they get their mail from their mailbox. So it was a good match. You got to be creative when you're trying to put together your classroom and make sure that you can utilize all these free stuff that you get.
Yeah, wow. Well, thank you very much.